All right, guys, we are back. How's everybody doing? Kyla, Mike?
I'm good. How are you, Brad?
I'm pretty good. Mike?
What is?
You're just gonna keep not talking, doing gestures. That's great for the people that are only listening to us.
Oh no.
Wow. Okay, so he's miming.
I'm just trying to support our mime community. Oh wait, damn it, I'm talking.
Wow. Wrong, dude. Wrong kind of performance art that we're trying to talk about here.
Okay.
Nobody actually cares about mimes.
Podcast. Don't let the mimes hear that.
Nobody listens to those anyway. I mean, what?
Who's gonna complain? Honestly, if the mimes have a problem, who's really gonna complain?
I mean, they can still type.
I mean, sure, but
slippery slope that you're playing with there, guys.
Alright, guys. So thank you all for joining us on this wonderful Sunday afternoon. We know it's a little bit not our typical time to stream these days, but we definitely love having you here. Mike, we got your sister and Kyla, your mom, already jumping in, both saying hi. So
always.
Hello. So yeah, it's been a minute. We've been off for about a week, but we're back now, and just in time to be able to talk about something that's super timely and not 3-4 weeks late to get to the table on.
It gave people time to watch it, okay, Brad? Gave people time to watch it, because there are other people still having to work during this hectic time too. So I mean, they
sure.
need
I feel like we're like
3 hours to
Microsoft
sit down and watch it. So
I feel like we're like Microsoft with about half of our operating systems,
or like Apple with most of their phone features,
or the Zoom.
Android.
Anyway,
with that, guys, as always, if this is your first time to watch us, thank you for joining us. We absolutely appreciate it. Please do not forget, if you're watching us over on Facebook, to like the video and follow us over on Facebook. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe on YouTube, because it appeases our Google overlords. And, of course, if you like checking us out but don't always have time for videos, you can listen to us over on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher, because we're all the places all the time.
Sorry, Brad, the only overlord that I recognize is Skynet.
I mean, actually Skynet does exist, they're just a Chinese company, which these days feels kind of... No, there actually is a company over in China called Skynet. They thought it would be a good tribute to make a bad thing good now. Although these days I feel like it's all kind of the same thing at this point.
Fair.
Especially if it's coming. Well, you know what? We're not getting political. I'm just gonna sit over here.
Nope.
Although
we're talking about something that is actually very political, so I feel like it's more appropriate than ever that I get on my soapbox.
Hey, we got Hector over in the Facebook comments showing the Android love. Hey, how you doing, Hector? Yeah. Yes, we did say Skynet.
We are going to be talking about TikTok being shut down, right? That's what we're talking about today?
No, we're going to be talking about that at another time. And at that point, we're also going to be addressing my recent newfound addiction for TikTok.
I told you. Did I not tell you? You just had to let the algorithm speak to you, and then it was going to give you the things you didn't know that you needed, and then you'd be scrolling for hours.
Turns out a lot of D&D humor. Go figure.
See,
hey, Brad, really quick.
D&D humor, it's great.
Remember what she did to me with Pops?
Okay, you say what she did to you. Let's be honest. You did that one to yourself. She just encouraged.
I started it by accident.
Started the whole thing?
Yeah, but before we digress too much on a tangent, we completely forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Brad. That's Mike. That's Kyla. We're Dallas Geek. Hi, everybody.
We don't know who she is. She just showed up.
Yeah.
That's a complete lie. We haven't done a video together, and since my hair was purple, I think so.
Yeah.
It's
And
not like
a little bit of a different background for Kyla this time, because somebody had to go back to get ready for the start of classes soon.
Well, I thought we were going to say she had to go back to her. I thought we were going to say she had to go back to her 15-year-old bedroom.
I don't know what you're talking about. I almost swore there. I don't have a censor button.
I do.
I don't know what you're talking about. I like my room. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus, is there? So just really curious. Over your right shoulder, where the camera can't see, is there a My Chemical Romance poster?
No, it's a tarot card tapestry.
No, where the camera's cut off.
What are you talking about?
She doesn't get the. Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into what we're actually talking about today, because you know, tangents. Hamilton. So
Alexander Hamilton.
with the ever increasing need for things to watch and entertain ourselves during the event that shall not be named, out of fear that YouTube will block us. Yeah.
Wait, what if we worded it like a Harry Potter spell? Could we say it then?
Okay, so no, because then Twitter will get mad at us for even mentioning Harry Potter right now. So let's just go ahead and say Disney came in clutch with the Broadway love for Hamilton. How this, I don't know, honestly. I have not been able to find in the details if this was always intended to be a Disney thing, or if Lin-Manuel Miranda just was very insightful about trying to get this on camera, and Disney came in after the fact.
I know stuff. So
Disney paid a lot of money.
Okay, so I do know this one. So Lin-Manuel Miranda, in an interview with, I believe it was, oh gosh, who was it? I don't want to say Vogue because I'm gonna be wrong, but he was in an interview. They asked him if how they felt about it, and they heard about a recording. He said, well, what he did was that he wanted the original production to be captured on video. He wasn't quite sure what to end up doing with it, so 3 days before the Broadway debut, they did their recordings, put it all together and everything like that. Because if you notice, there's a couple of jumps where, like, Eliza's wearing a necklace, but she's not wearing a necklace in this scene, is because they were shot on 3 different days. And then he said it was put into a vault to later be brought out whenever the opportunity was right for people to actually be able to enjoy the original intended Broadway production of Hamilton, and that's what we got. So it wasn't always intended to be Disney, but it was always intended to be released at some point or another. So
nice.
And all it took
I do know that one.
Can I say the P word, Brad?
I feel like that actually sounds worse than the actual thing, so please just let's end the suspense.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, that P word. Okay, I was like, what?
That's
word are you
that's all
about?
It took was us being locked inside our houses for a month.
Yeah.
Oh, and Disney paying 7 figures.
I mean, what else are you gonna do with 3 hours of your time in the evening?
Well,
that's fair.
3 hours of your time well spent with one of the best things that has maybe ever come out of Broadway. This? We can show enough of it because it's less than 30 seconds. So yeah, and there's no audio. I was even afraid I was honestly even afraid to use the Alexander Hamilton audio, just because I didn't want that to get flagged. But this is it's theoretically safe.
I just don't want the mouse to come after us, that's all.
Nah, this is usually pretty safe for trailers. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, they do have 7 figures worth of money to make up for.
Oh, they're making up.
Pretty sure they have.
Oh, Hector. Oh, bad looking out. You still haven't seen it, dude. You need to. It's amazing. Really, truly amazing. But no, this yeah. Like I said, this may be one of the best things that's come out of Broadway ever. Definitely in the last 10 years, and that's saying something.
Book of Mormon came out in the last 10 years, didn't it?
I said what I said.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
Yes, Book of Mormon did well at the Tonys, but this won all the Tonys, and is up
all
for
all the
Miranda,
Oscars. Just like all of that.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't think it can qualify for any Oscars, can it?
Doesn't it?
I thought I read somewhere that because of the style of recording or whatever it was, that it can't qualify for any Oscars.
Well, I think that is completely unfair, and that needs to change. But
didn't Jersey Boys also come out in the last decade?
Like I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. Wow. But with that, we will go ahead and jump on in. So the casting for this may have been some of the best casting for each of the characters I've seen. And there were a few of them in there that lyrically, I don't know how anybody could have kept up with what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what's so... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, just looked it up. It can't win any Oscars, but it has a shot at the Emmys. Specifically, It says it planned a theatrical release in October of 2021 before dropping it early on its streaming service, but it's not enough to qualify it for Oscar consideration, though eligibility rules were amended in April to allow films with planned theatrical release to compete. According to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, recorded stage productions are not eligible for consideration. But it can go up for an Emmy. So there you go.
That's just totally unfair.
All of the Emmys.
It needs to. It really needs to.
Which means we won't get any EGOT winners out of this, unfortunately.
But yeah, no, I will say that one of the most surprising things that came out of this was finding out that the third song, and maybe the most popular song for this entire show, My Shot, took about a year to write because it was so long and lyrically complex.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh,
honestly,
yes.
I've heard so many different versions of it since the original cast album, which I was obsessed with for the longest time until I finally got to see the stage performance.
He was.
And honestly, I can't imagine anybody else singing this other than Lin-Manuel Miranda. His voice just fits the cadence so well. Nobody else quite fits it right. It's just so him and perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's his style in a lot of the songs that he writes, because I did some digging, and apparently there's lots of songs that he's written that I apparently absolutely adore and had no idea, so...
Oh, yeah.
I've done some learning. Like what?
Well...
How Far I'll Go from Moana and You're Welcome from Moana?
Well, he did the soundtrack for Moana.
Yeah,
plus,
those two, I love those songs, and also Shiny, so...
Plus, if you are a Broadway fan, even if you haven't seen the play, you've almost definitely heard some of the songs from In the Heights, and that is another one that the cadence, everything about Hamilton, the cadence of all the songs from In the Heights feels very reminiscent from this. Like, he has a style.
Didn't he also do Bring It On the Musical? I think he did.
I will double check that.
Is that one we want to give him credit for?
Yeah.
Fair. You know what? I do not know. Kyla, I will let you figure out if he did or did not.
Yeah, Tom Kitt and Lin-Manuel and Miranda. So.
Okay. But yeah, no, I gotta say though, man, the main cast, specifically the pairing of Daveed Diggs, Chris Jackson, Lin-Manuel, and Leslie Odom Jr. Were fantastic fantastic together for so many of the scenes. And honestly, while I enjoyed Anthony Ramos in this as both John Lawrence and Philip Hamilton, seeing his bits from the trailer for the upcoming movie In the Heights and seeing what he can come across as when he's featured more prominently kind of made me sad that he wasn't more prominent in Hamilton, because, I mean, it's just every one of those guys, their grasp of the control of the stage, especially such a small, confined stage setup, is amazing.
Yeah.
Mike?
Oh,
Got a nail on head there.
I thought you were gonna contribute a little bit more than that, Kyla. Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry if he says like it very poignantly. Do I need to be redundant?
Messing. No, look, there was so much about this performance and this presentation that was just everything from the revolving stage, so that it actually gave you a forced different perspective for certain scenes. Like, it wasn't just a flat two-dimensional, here's how we're... Like, there were certain things, like, every time that he or somebody had an encounter with death, how everything would freeze, and the stage would revolve around to show, like, the world still spinning, even though time was, like, frozen to them in that moment kind of sense, was absolutely brilliant. The fact that they had that sense of presentation for it, like, because this could have been a very flat, we're just going to go out there and we're going to do it, and we're up here, you guys are down there and we're just watching us. No, they wanted to actively give you a presentation that made you have a sense of being in a three-dimensional space with them while they were performing.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the most well-known movie versions of a Broadway play is maybe Cats, and while that is an easy go-to example, and Rent, both of those stage videos only have so much to contribute compared to the in-person experience. This really did feel more like up close and personal with the performances. And the stage, the way the stage functioned made a massive difference for that.
The overall set layout as well. Oh, go ahead, Kyla. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so set layout, yes. I don't know exactly what you're going to say about that, but it was... I was reading somewhere about how the transition of how the set kind of changed over time was supposed to show how time was passing, going from like a mostly wooden structure to kind of like seeing brick being added onto it to like slightly more metal being introduced into the set production. But I was actually going to go back, and you mentioned when anyone actually had a brush with death. I noticed it, but I thought maybe I was crazy, that there's actually a character, like one of the ensemble cast members, who
represents death
every single time it was death. It was the same cast member, and she was supposed to represent that. And I was like, that is so cleverly done to like put that in there. Just beautiful.
Yeah, and honestly, Ariana DeBose did an amazing job with that. And I didn't even realize that was what was happening at first, because I had been so used to the soundtrack of it that it actually took me until the second viewing of the performance to actually realize that that's what was happening with that it was actually the embodiment of death, or as they put it, the embodiment of the bullet. From the moment when she, as an ensemble member, is killed at the beginning of the revolution, from that moment on, every time she's on stage, she is showing some foreshadowing of death with every action she does, even to the point where the rest of the ensemble starts to take on her movements when it's getting closer to the time of somebody's death, compared to all the rest of the time when her movements are primarily separate from the rest of the ensemble. Yeah,
like I didn't catch it until I think Philip's death is when I was like, wait a minute. And then at the very end, sorry, spoilers here if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. I apologize here. It's also partially, American history, but there's little pieces that you might be getting spoiled for. That should be understood. But
as
nonetheless,
somebody that studies history, nobody cares about it, so...
I mean...
Sorry. But I saw her with it. I was like, hasn't she been popping up a lot? And then I really noticed it with the final shot at Alexander Hamilton, and I was like, I wonder, or if it's just coincidence, or if it was something else. But then after reading, I was like, oh, okay, so it wasn't a little bit crazy for catching it. And then upon rewatching, I was like, oh, she's everywhere. Like,
yeah. Well, the reason why it took me until the second viewing to realize that's what was happening was because because it is such a small cast, including the ensemble, like they intentionally kept the entire thing to a bare minimum number of people that had to be involved, so they could try to increase how fluid everything can move around. So I just got used to seeing.
People? Keep
It
talking.
is. Yeah, I think it may be like 20, 25 people max. But no, I just got so used to seeing members of the ensemble randomly jumping out as like one-off characters for this scene or that scene that it just didn't occur to me that she was consistent throughout the entire thing. And it really did take me watching it 2 times just to go, wait, nobody else does that. Like, nobody else seems to be consistent with what they're doing. It's all just kind of all over the place. But that, it was very impressive with just the overall presentation of the movement of the story. But speaking of story and incredible performances, the Schuyler sisters. I mean, Peggy, Angelica, and Eliza, otherwise known as Jasmine Jones, Philippa Sue, and where did she? Renee Elise Goldsberry. Good Lord. Amazing casting choices. I loved Philippa Sue as Eliza. She was incredible with it, but it actually took me a second to place why Angelica looked so familiar until I realized she was in both seasons of Altered Carbon. And it dawned on me, oh my gosh, that's why she just looks like, because I was just watching it.
And it's 28, by the way, including ensemble.
There we go.
So,
there we go.
Yeah, 28 including ensemble with words. I think it was 10 is what I counted, named cast members.
Yeah.
That played obviously double roles and everything else, and then the rest of it was just ensemble.
And speaking of double roles, I think we would be incredibly remiss if we did not show a little bit of love for Daveed Diggs. Going back and forth between Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson, he, aside from Lin-Manuel himself, I think Daveed had the other most difficult sets of lyrics in the entire performance. I mean, especially
sorry.
Lafayette
I was dealing with work. What did I miss?
I would fight with you with Angelica on that one.
No, you didn't get the reference that I was.
Oh, good Lord, really? That's.
Took me a second,
I'm so used to you just checking out during these things for random work things. I just assumed.
It was a little bit too on the nose of reality. It's okay.
Yes, it was very on the nose, which is why I used the exact wording, what did I miss? Well, we were talking about the guy that sang the song, What Did I Miss?
So, yeah, that song's really fun, as well as your pun there was great. Great reference
Does that
there.
count as a pun?
But I would... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that a pun? Would we qualify that as a pun?
I said I also called it reference.
Okay.
Play on words. Insertion. Jokes.
Sure.
Hey, this is a PG show. You can't say the word in. Well, you know.
That's why I had to add the in jokes because someone would take it wrong. I would argue with you on. Yeah. So yes, Daveed Diggs had some incredibly hard lines, but do we want to talk about Angelica and some of the songs that she sings? Where I think one, what was it, clocked at? There's one song she sings I think is clocked in at like 72 words in 1 minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just take the height of Guns and Ships, and the fact that not only did he have to speed up to that to as fast as he was going during that piece, but he also had to keep his French accent, which was not easy to begin with.
I'll give you
so one of the things I think that gets lost too is before we start going off into how well other characters did. I think the thing that gets lost too is the actors that were pulling double duty. It's hard enough to pull double duty, but when you're also playing characters that are completely and totally opposite of each other, how they carry themselves, different accents, different enunciations of words and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you add in singing to that.
And also like
that
singing and the mannerisms.
Absolutely incredible. The amount of talent it takes to pull double duty in that context.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and I know I'm gonna butcher his name. Nope, not even gonna try to say that one. The guy that played Hercules Mulligan and James Madison. Yeah, not. I'm not gonna insult him enough to butcher his name like that. I know my limits.
So is it more of an insult if you butcher his name, or is it more of an insult if you don't even try?
I will try it after I hear somebody else tell me how it's supposed to be pronounced. But no, I mean, you want to talk about some? I mean, that was another one that playing double duty had like diametrically different attitudes from Hercules Mulligan, his, as he said, DMX-inspired performance versus James Madison, that was much more matter-of-fact.
If it makes you feel better, he also goes by the name Oak. Which would make sense, because that man is built like a tree. But...
No, look, I think... Like I said, I think the characters...
I made Brad break! Do I get the gold star today?
I think the actor... Well, no, you don't get a gold star because you missed the what did I miss. You are automatically disqualified for a gold star.
Well.
No, look, the actor... I just don't think that can be stated enough how difficult it is to pull double duty like that.
Yeah.
In a production like this. Like, that is something I feel like is getting overshadowed big time by the performance of other characters and by other actors. Not to take anything away from anybody, but like...
No,
damn,
I will say...
I don't think I realize how difficult that is.
Oh no, it's extremely difficult. Like, it took me... I will say I felt super dumb until like the last little bit of you seeing... Is it Maria? The one he has the affair with.
Oh,
his mistress. It took me till the end of like seeing her when she's finally walking off stage. I was like, wait, that was Peggy. Like,
yeah, Maria Reynolds.
I felt very dumb because of how much of a character shift that she had from just seeing her with the Schuyler sisters and then going to that. I was like, oh wait, okay, because like of how well she presented herself to have two roles that I was just enamored with, that I didn't realize it was the same actress until the end of it. I was like, oh.
It also says a lot to the production that you had entire sections of the show that were being narrated and seen from different characters' perspectives. Like, Aaron Burr is the overall narrator of it, and as you progress through it and his feelings and his admiration and his respect for Alexander Hamilton dissipates into what is essentially hate and jealousy. His lyrics change when he's talking about him in the introduction to new scenes. The way that he carries himself when Alexander Hamilton is brought up by other characters completely changes. Like you said, when Angelica first introduces him to Liza, and it kind of, you have that really fantastic musical moment of you'll never be satisfied, and then how they reprise it later on in the movie after everything that's happened, and you see it from the perspective of, oh, she was right, and now he's reprising it, and that, oh, she was right.
Maybe there was enough world for both of us.
Yeah. Like there's so much brilliance in this production in terms of stuff that happens at the beginning being called back at the end, and the progression of everything going through, referencing everything that where it started to where it ended.
Yeah, and I do have to say, I know it's been mentioned many times before, especially by Lin himself, but the true guts that it took to make an entire musical around our first Treasury Secretary, and use the origins of our nation as the framing device around his story, was, I mean, who was ever going to be begging for that story? I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember back, like, in every history class I ever took, Alexander Hamilton was barely a footnote in most of the classes, and anything about Aaron Burr, the most that came up was, A, he shot Alexander Hamilton, and B, he had a temper, and, you know, it was a thing. Maybe, if you were lucky, you got the extra tidbit about him losing all of his money at the end of his life and having to rely on the generosity of Thomas Jefferson to just make it to the end. But that was only if you were really lucky and had a history teacher that just liked those extra tidbits. But, I mean, it was all just so glossed over most of the time.
I mean, if I can get on a soapbox here for a minute.
No, please.
So, like, it's so funny because, like, so many people when it came out were like, let's break down the historical accuracy. Like, really? We want to break down the historical accuracy of a over-stylized Broadway musical about... I think it's funny that people read too much into stuff, but at the same time, like, obviously they Hollywooded up a lot of stuff in this, but there was stuff that was very accurate that doesn't really get talked about. Like, the fact that we have a musical around a man that was the first Secretary of Treasury, but yet was the right hand to George Washington in the lead up to the Revolution, so much so that he actually refused to put him on the battlefield because he thought that his mind and his voice were more suited for what was coming after the Revolution, and that was too important to lose during the Revolution. Like you said, like, Hamilton's a footnote to a lot of what's taught in schools, but, like, historians sit there and say, like, he was anything but a footnote. Yeah. Like, and I think it's also very telling that, like, at the end of the play, all of the characters in character are sitting there talking about everything that he did for the country, and it's like Thomas Jefferson saying, like, man, I couldn't dismantle his
banking system.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I tried.
Me.
He's like, I couldn't
dismantle.
Yeah. He's like, trust me, I tried.
Yeah, and if you remember back to history classes, there was a lot of time during the Jefferson administration that he did actively try to change the way that national commerce happened, and it the whole need for a national bank, a unified method of currency and financial transactions just stuck too well. There's a lot about everything that we see today that is only here because of what Alexander Hamilton put in place.
And it was also, they really did a really good job of portraying how much certain characters absolutely hated each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Hamilton and Jefferson hated each other. Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson hated each other. Like, that is something that gets very wishy-washy to over. Again, not to get on a soapbox or anything, but like, these were human beings. These were people. They carried grudges. They hated each other. They were insecure. They wanted power. But like, that's also something that it does a really good job of, is Washington is like this holier-than-thou figure for some people in the historical community. And it does a really good job of humanizing him, but at the same time, it still leaves him on that pedestal of being a holier-than-thou character.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that it's had to be addressed a lot lately, because there have been so many articles that have tried to point out the fact that, ooh, you glossed over this part of the history. You glossed over the fact that Jefferson was a slave owner. You glossed over the fact that Washington was a slave owner. You glossed over the fact that the Schuyler's built their wealth on slave trading. You missed all this, even though, yes, technically there's only so much history that you can cram into a single musical, but also this was meant to be a very specific message, trying to show the ideal of what America could be based on that initial promise, rather than the cold hard reality of what it really was, in all of its dirty truth. Because, yeah, if you want that, you can get it, but that's not the point of the story. And, I mean, talk about Washington, we're actually getting some Washington love here in the Facebook comments.
I loved Washington in the play.
Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic portrayal.
No, seeing Chris Jackson as George Washington really put that gravitas into the performance, even while at the same time as humanizing him. And that was kind of the point, because, yeah, there were flaws. Obviously, half of the musical was based around character flaws, but you need something to be able to look up to. I mean, the whole point of not trying to cast the cast on the fact that everybody was actually white people, and the musical is, not, is to try to show that we as America can be better than the truth of our origins. We don't have to be true to that.
Did I miss something? They weren't all white people? Did I miss something? All the actors weren't white?
I mean, Jonathan Groff was, but how?
Wait, no, I'm sorry. I just
portray the king.
Sorry, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was a blind casting for a reason. Like, who gives a crap of what they look like? If they can deliver that performance for you and get you enamored so much that you fall in love with the characters, someone like the King of England, whom we hated at the time. I'm gonna say it right now. Jonathan Groff was my favorite piece in the entire musical. I probably listened to. I know him 3 times a day. Like.
I just want to know where Sven was.
Because reindeers are better than people.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
In every sense.
But
because people cheat you and burn you and cheat you.
But look, I don't I said, I don't want to get political, because this was just supposed to be an overall look at the performance and everything. But it's very telling that, like you said, the story was told from a perspective of these are flawed human beings. They were flawed human beings in a flawed time, but these are still human beings that accomplished something that a fraction of any amount of the population that will ever live could do.
Yeah.
They started
a
whole country.
Yeah. It's hard to get past that.
Did a government system from literally the ground up,
and look, and people like to, and
but ground up.
Yeah, but like you said, there's been a lot of bashing of Jefferson and Washington lately.
Yeah.
But are we just gonna overlook the fact that somebody like George Washington was given absolute power and voluntarily gave it up?
Yeah. No, I mean, They pointed out in the show that was completely unheard of at the time, and honestly, even now is still seen as one of the most radical ideas in history.
That this man literally served his time, served his country, helped found his country, and then when it got to the point, he said, "It's my time to step away and let others carry us into the future."
Yeah, even when the whole public was demanding that he stick around, that he practically be crowned the new American king, he knew it was time to move on.
No, didn't we?
You guys are kind of.
Didn't we just leave that idea? I'm good.
Exactly. That's what, you guys are missing the whole point of what we just did, aren't y'all?
Yeah.
Like, do you not remember 8 years ago? Like.
Yeah.
Like, did you forget what happened? Because
And then, you know, the issue with the slavery as well, it's Washington and Jefferson both, when they left office, still actually tried to do stuff to combat it.
Yeah.
They tried to present it through the legislature and let the populace vote on it and abolish it. Yeah. But they realized that they couldn't force through a law to abolish it.
Yeah, and one of the things that the play really does point out is the paramount importance during the drafting of the Constitution of the Federalist Papers, and just how influential that was on the process. Once again, another piece of history that tends to get glossed over in a lot of history classes. And yes, having John Jay jump in and try to put in some of his opinions, similar like John Lawrence trying to point out that slavery needed to be something that was short-lived. Having Alexander Hamilton try to point that out too, unfortunately only went so far, but to just really point out that there is an accurate document that you can go back and see the thought process of some of the minds behind the Constitution and what was happening at the time to give context to it, it is just great to have pointed back out. And once going into another theme of the show, how adamant Hamilton was about being as creative and influential in the whole creation process for the nation, pointing out that yes, out of the 85 essays that created the Federalist Papers, he wrote 51 of them. He was one of the people that helped make the Constitution. He helped create our economic system as we know it. He helped to try to influence the initial legal basis for our nation. He helped create the idea of our country during the Revolution. He did so much. To see how much one person has the ability to influence an entire nation if the will is there, it's an incredible thing to be reminded of, especially now.
Yeah.
You know, the individual means something, and it's a good message to have.
Yeah, like that's another thing that it tackled really well. I'm trying to remember what the line is. Aaron Burr would always say to him, "What is it? Why do you write like?
Why do you write like you're running out of time?"
Thank you. Like that is who the man was. Like he was somebody that had to constantly put ideas out there and challenge himself and challenge the notion of things, because I don't have all the time in the world to do it.
In the beginning of the play, Aaron Burr tries to tell him that, like, you should talk less and just, as he puts it, smile more. And try to keep
like a modern
yourself,
politician.
Like,
Huh.
Exactly.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Aaron Burr was, the modern politician. But but he was
So
always
if he was doing
writing
it back
like,
then,
you know
is it
what,
really
no.
modern?
I mean, he led the way for it, so maybe it's just outdated at this point, and they're just following in his footsteps.
I did see a great meme. It was, if anybody ever tells you that the current political climate in the U.S. is the most vitriolic and combative that it's ever been, just calmly remind them that at one point, the Vice President of the United States shot and killed the former Secretary of the Treasury in a duel. I was just kind of like, holy hell, that is so brilliant.
Literally, what, like 2 miles away from where his son was killed too? Like, that's
Yes. No, I think it was on the
that's
spot,
a-
wasn't it?
it
Yeah,
was really
it
close
was-
to it.
Yeah, it was like yards
Yeah.
away from.
Yeah.
And I mean, just one of the things that the play really does point out, and obviously certain creative liberties were taken with certain verbiages from some of the letters that were recounted during the show, but it really does kind of go to show the level of language that had been the norm for political speech versus now, and the difference that we see now, as even to the point of the back and forth between Hamilton's letters to Aaron Burr and Burr's letters to Hamilton, insulting each other back and forth, and the just
Yes.
like the over the top, extra flourished, like just absolute
The
biting
shade that
insults.
was thrown.
Like, if I got some of the insults that were thrown back and forth between the two of them, whether the Broadway versions or the real versions of it, I would feel proud and insulted at the same time that somebody took the time to be that thorough in trying to verbally eviscerate me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, like they were like the shade that was thrown was palatable even in a living room watching it on TV. Like it was
Well, like, and it was also, it was the modern spin that it was put on it too, right? Like, you had the correspondence between Burr and Hamilton, but the way that Jefferson and Hamilton went out was a rap battle.
yes.
Yes.
I loved that.
Maybe one of the best decisions in the whole thing, making those debates a rap battle.
Yes.
It feels so
It was a fantastic
right.
take.
So, and like, that's
Like
another thing too, is the, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just how else would you do it? Because it keeps up with the same pace of how Miranda likes to deliver things, but also keeps an interest because you know those things are like, I don't have another word for it, hoity-toity, like back and forth. Now, granted, like the verbiage that they use, like you said, the words was really eloquent and like to the point and could be Viper-like with just 2 phrases and everything, but to keep it modern and to keep interest of the audience, turning it into a rap battle was spectacular.
Yeah.
It's still got the Viper feeling,
Yeah.
just, you know, something that we know now, besides mumble rap.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, mumble rap. But yeah, no, and it's also, it also goes to, like, the musical style of the whole musical. Like, it was a mismatch of, like, 80s and early 90s hip-hop, with modern hip-hop, with jazz, with traditional kind of Broadway big band style music, with R&B. Like, all of those things coming together to tell the story.
Like, what would you call Jonathan Groff's songs? What style would you put those in? Besides, like, I have nothing besides, like, traditional Broadway
Yes.
stand and belt.
Yes.
But
like,
right, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Although I
But then
will say,
it's also almost a parody of the traditional stand and belt Broadway with the la da 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 da,
Yep.
and then he's like, everybody, like, to sing along,
And
like,
they all join
almost
in at a
like,
time.
like, what the hell is happening right now?
well, and that's actually the thing that I actually really appreciate about the stage performance versus the cast album. In the cast album, you get to that part of that initial song from King George, and it's very light and lilty, and it's da 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 da, everybody, ha 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 ha, la da da da. And on the stage, he gets to that point, it's like, everybody, boom, like it's a command that he's just sarcastically
Yeah.
demanding it, and just gets so heated with it. And seeing that side of the character after hearing it so many times, it just added that much more texture to what I was already understanding from the whole thing. Like I love that actually.
The song "What Comes Next," where he says "I'm so blue," and the cast recording is just "I'm so blue," and it just keeps going. But after seeing like the musical is "I'm so blue," and he pauses everything he's doing and slams the ground with his scepter for the light to turn blue, and he goes, and then continues on with his business. Like,
even better, after John Adams is elected, and he jumps in with his whole bit about how John Adams is going to be eaten alive. He goes over to the side of the stage, sits down on a little box, and starts like getting all giddy like a kid. And just stays there like for half the next scene. Just
that was amazing. I'm here for it.
President John Adams. Good luck.
Amazing. Oh, and one quick correction, because I was just looking up the Hamilton mixtape. By the way, if you haven't listened to it, highly recommend it. Give some fun additional takes on some of the other songs in this. But when I said Hercules Mulligan was based on DMX, I was wrong. It's based on Busta Rhymes. And I was reminded of this because the mixtape version of My Shot was featuring Busta.
It has Busta, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Busta, Nate Roos, and the Roots.
It's at the very end of the musical. And I think we were watching it, Mike, and you were like, "Is that Busta Rhymes singing that?" Like you were like, "What?"
So what the hell am I watching?
It was I think the mixtape actually was an amazing thing that they did to throw in after the play had gotten so much acclaim. I don't know if any other Broadway show has done something like that before, just to be able to add a little extra something just for the fans. And the fact that not only did they do an album of different versions with popular artists for the fans, but they even did music videos to go along with it to give a little extra something to those new takes. I don't know, there's just so much about this show that has just continued to add on to itself over and over again in different mediums, in different ways, that I don't know, it feels like this show is the gift that keeps on giving. Like, we could be around 20 years from now, and there's still going to be new takes, new ways of trying to present something about this that nobody had thought of before, and it all just continues to fuel creativity.
You mean like all the memes and stuff? So speaking of TikTok, one of my favorite ones I've seen recently, it was the intro song, and it's like, "Me, I loved him. Me, I trusted him. And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him." There was a Star Wars take on it in relation to Anakin Skywalker as Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
And it was like, "Me, I'm the damn fool that shot him" was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, it was, I'll have to send it to you. It was fantastic. I was like, yeah. And see, I appreciate that coming from this because of like being able to apply it and like the jokes that come from it.
Yeah.
The example, the "What Did I Miss" that Mike did earlier.
There was another one that I really need to send you. That was that when it was "Me, I died for him." It was just "Me, I died for him." "Me, I died for him." "Me, I died for him." It's just everybody that it was, you know, the clone troopers, the younglings, this, just everybody that Anakin either killed or died for him during the Clone Wars, and it was like it went on for like a solid like 20-second stretch. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think I've seen the one you're talking about. I like that clip because it's like, "Me, I died for him. Me, I died for him. Me, I died for him. And me, I'm the guy who died for him."
Yes. Oh.
And Mike's just shaking his head at us. Is great.
I don't TikTok, so I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about.
We'll fix that.
You do when I send you videos. It's fine.
No, we won't fix it because Trump's about to outlaw it.
You say that, and yet...
Maybe.
Look, I'm going to tell you right
Microsoft
now...
is still trying to...
Give it a second, the internet always wins.
I'm going to tell you right now, if he bans TikTok and brings back Vine, I will vote for him forever. Because, as everybody knows, I live my life to do it for the Vine.
The part that I find hilarious is talking about TikTok being banned, and then this last week you had the big congressional hearing with all the big tech companies, and you know everybody's trying to go in on Facebook, you know, saying, oh, they're definitely a monopoly. And then at the same time that TikTok is being talked about being banned, Facebook is saying, oh, by the way, remember Instagram and how we did Instagram stories? We have a new thing called Instagram Reels. It's going to be like TikTok, only Instagram. And I'm just looking at that going, you know, if you ban TikTok, yeah, there are reasons why you could justify it, but you're only going to be feeding the beast that is Facebook if you do that. So, you know, honestly...
So I still think...
We're both
Who
absolutely
do you fear more,
but
Zuckerberg or China? Honestly, I'm willing to roll the dice on this one.
I'm not. But speaking of that, one of my favorite memes ever. It's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg when he was at a congressional hearing, and he's got like this kind of glazed over, like staring off into space look in his eyes. And it's like, the moment you realize that all you were trying to do was set up something where you could rank hot girls, and now you're in front of a Congressional Judiciary Committee.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it! Like...
And with that, I think our review of Hamilton's about done. So, guys,
well, so
thank
to just
we are now 57... What?
Well, I was just going to say, your
got?
overall takeaways from Hamilton.
Oh, yes. Duh.
Because, you know, we kind of skipped
It
that
is a
point.
review. It is a review.
I mean...
Right. Wait,
I
am I
think
the one that's keeping everything on the rails right now?
No. I think
Ooh.
my love is pretty obvious on this one. I will continue to encourage anybody and everybody I meet to check it out, because Hamilton...
Mike, what you got?
So that's just it, Brad? Just Hamilton? What is this, the Vote or Die campaign from 2004?
No, it's Aaron Burr's Smile More.
Wow, good timely comment. You know, maybe you should Pokemon go to the polls.
Oh, I could do that too.
But no, I'm just saying Hamilton. Just because Hamilton. And Hamilton. Because it's freaking Hamilton.
Do we need to make sure that there's no Kool-Aid in his house?
No, he can drink the Kool-Aid. It's fine. He's a grown adult.
Okay. Go ahead. What do you think, Kyla?
Well, I asked you, but okay. So I really enjoyed it. For someone who is not a history person in any aspect whatsoever.
I know.
I'm sorry, okay? Like, I love hearing about it. It does not get retained really well. I have to, like, constantly read.
I know.
There's a reason why I teach STEM. And not history or English. But as someone who doesn't really like that but really enjoys musicals, it was a fantastic musical in and of itself because the story it's told was beautiful. As someone who will occasionally partake in history and like enjoy it while I do, it just doesn't stick with me. I also enjoyed that because I was turning to Mike constantly going like, wait, did he really have an affair? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. He was like, yeah, it was bad. Or like,
and then he outed himself in the papers about it. Yes.
Exactly. Like
he thought that was the smart thing to do.
I had either no recollection for it, or my teacher might not have covered it. It could have been a combination of both those things, actually, if we're being honest here. It was fascinating to hear about it because you're like, oh, okay, so our history is a little bit more interesting than a bunch of old white dudes who came together like mathematics. Like it's fascinating. So I mean, it's really enjoyable. Just don't take every single word as 100% historical factual truth. Do a little bit more reading on the side to go along with it, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. But 7.3, too much spitting. Okay, thank you for getting that. I love the spinning floor. It was actually just a joke and to make Mike break, so now I made them both break. It's great.
Mike?
You. With everything that I am, with everything that I made up, I hate you right now.
No, you don't.
Mike, what did you think?
Give me a second.
Uh-huh. Do you need a sip of coffee?
Okay. No, it's all gone. I need vodka.
Well, that's
now.
your fault.
No, look, as somebody that is a history person, like you said, do we need to take it as 100% historical truth? No, God, no, absolutely not. It's entertainment. It's entertainment to tell a story of men that did this amazing thing, and specifically this one man and how he touched an entire history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And his contribution to it, and also his contribution to the men around him and what the men around him went to do. They're flawed. It's a very real look at these men. It's also a very real look at the women that are involved as well. One of the things I really liked is how the closing of the musical shifts to Eliza Hamilton and how she lived another 50 years and how she became a philanthropist and how she opened the biggest orphanage in New York and how she petitioned and how she contributed to raising the funds to get the Washington Monument built in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. The moving of the capital to Washington, D.C. The fact that it's kind of it's a throwaway line between Madison and Jefferson, like, oh, like, we can always move the capital to the south, maybe somewhere near the Potomac. Like, all of those kinds of just little nuggets are sprinkled in that history people get that may go over somebody else's head, or they may not, like, oh, you know, it's like, oh, that's a cool little reference. I was like, no, that's awesome. Like, I loved the fact that they did that. I also loved the fact that we saw, like I said, we saw a very real representation of these men and the time that they were in. What do you keep looking at? What the hell are you doing?
We keep talking about, you know, it's not necessarily an accurate historical document, but if you do want accurate historical references for all of this,
sweet Jesus, is he? Oh my God!
Don't forget to go check out the actual biography for Alexander Hamilton that the play was based on by Ron Chernow. Amazing. It's a little bit thick, but you know, you can always go check it out on Audible. Also, if you like the play, you can always get the behind the scenes book with lyrics and all the behind the scenes notes and production details just for fun, because, you know, necessary.
Thanks for breaking my concentration. But I will say, because I will just keep rambling, I will keep rambling on and on and on about this. The play's fantastic. The music's amazing.
Just for fun.
Hamilton Papers. No, look, the play is fantastic. Like I said, the music's amazing. The fact that we told a period piece with modern music and kind of a mismatch of different styles of modern music mixed with old school, mixed with traditional Broadway is amazing. But the one thing that I will always come back to is, like you said, Brad, this is a character in history that is really glossed over. But I thought it was absolutely amazing that every major figure in this play told the story of his life from their perspective. And it really hammered home exactly how much he influenced everybody around him that built the country, and how much of a almost behind the scenes figure he was. Not in a behind the scenes sense like everybody wanted Jar Jar Binks to be, you know, Emperor Palpatine, but behind the scenes in that, like, he was a great thinker that influenced a lot of people in his time, and how these men took what they learned from him and in his interactions and everything and went on to build what we're sitting in today.
Well, I mean, just think about the fact that there are only 2 of our founding fathers who signed both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, whose influence is still heavily seen today, but were not President of the United States. It's Alexander Hamilton and Benjamin Franklin. And that's it. So to be able to say
Yep.
that you have, he's one of 2 guys that were part of the Founding Fathers and was that influential without ever obtaining the presidency or even really running for it in the first place, that
Yep.
says a lot about him.
And it also, before we wrap up, I also really like the fact that they really hammer home that at this time, political office was a duty.
Yes.
It was something that you did to make your world around you better. They weren't career politicians. They were men that wanted to make their country better for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah. And it was the guys
An
that
honorable
did start to
politician,
become
but-
career politicians like Aaron Burr that you saw suffer the most.
Yep. Sorry, I'm gonna stop talking because I can just ramble on and on and on for like another hour and a half about this. So
It's fair. So, yeah, I think we all can say that it was fantastic, and we all encourage others to watch it.
100%.
But with that, now that we are officially at an hour and 6 minutes, guys, thank you for sticking around this long. If you've stuck around this long, for like the one of you that is still here, we love you. And with that, please do not forget, if you have not already, as always, be sure to follow us over on Facebook and like the video, and subscribe to us and like the video over on YouTube. And if you like checking out our stuff but don't always have time for the videos, you can always get the audio of all of our live streams and interviews over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Stitcher, because we are all the places all the time, because we love you.
Just like China, we're watching you. Sorry, is that
I
too
don't
real?
think we have the watching technology.
No. More like
There's always
Google. Well,
infiltrating
no,
ears.
no,
We're
we
trying.
definitely are nowhere near Google. Although speaking of Google, please Google overlords, let this video get out. We would love it if you did. With that, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Brad, that's Mike, that's Kyla, we're Dallas Geek, and see ya.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.